Good morning to you. Good morning to you. We're all in our places with bright shining faces. Good morning to you. Hi friends. Today we're going to talk about penguins and getting lost and found and ice and all kinds of crazy stuff because, well, it's me. Hey. So let's start out with our pledge just to get things going. Once again, I don't have a flag, so here we go. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good job. Okay, let's not miss the chair. We will then keep going. And let's see what day it is today. I don't even think I know. So, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. Today is April. And let's see what day of the week it is. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. There are 7 days, there are 7 days, there are 7 days in a week. Today is Tuesday, April. You see that number? It's a 2 and a 1, and that makes 21. So today is Tuesday, April 21st, 2020. So let's take our star here. Make sure we're at 21. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Got a red star for 21 there. And there you go. Some of you, that's what day it is today. Next, before we do our book, I thought we would do one of our favorite songs, but you gotta get moving to do this song. So I hope you're ready to move. We haven't done this one in a long time. Even we were at school, we hadn't done this one for a long time. So hopefully you will remember it. It's called the Animal Freeze song. So Alexa, play Animal Freeze by the Kaboomers.
Animals Freeze Dance Song by the Kaboomers on Amazon Music.
Let's play the Animals Freeze game. First, let's stomp like elephants.
Okay.
But remember to stop when I say freeze. Stomp, stomp, elephant stomp, stomp around the room. Elephant stomp around the room. Let's stop when I say get ready to waddle like penguins! Waddle, waddle, penguins waddle, waddle around the room. Penguins waddle around the room. But stop when I say freeze! Get ready to hop like kangaroos! Hop, hop, kangaroos hop. Hop around the room. Kangaroos hop around the room. But stop when I say freeze. Get ready to swim like polar bears. Swim, swim, polar bears swim. Swim around the room. Polar bears swim around the room. But stop when I say freeze! Get ready to swing like monkeys! Swing, swing, monkeys swing, swing around the room. Monkeys swing around the room. But stop when
gonna be crazy. Okay, so for our book, we're gonna do this one called Lost and Found by Oliver Jeffers. So you'll notice on the front is a penguin and a little boy, and they're inside an umbrella. And if you look around, you see this back here? It's an iceberg, so think about if it's hot or cold or what's going on here. So let's open it up. There's a suitcase. I don't know about you, but I take a suitcase when I'm traveling. Once there was a boy who found a penguin at his door. What? So the boy decided to help the penguin find its way home. He checked in the Lost and Found office, but no one was missing a penguin. He asked some birds if they knew where the penguin came from, but they ignored him. Some birds are like that. No luck so far. The boy asked his duck, but the duck floated away. He didn't know either. That night, the boy couldn't sleep for disappointment. He wanted to help the penguin, but he wasn't sure how. So he wants to try to help the penguin find home. Look at that penguin. He looks a little bit sad. The next morning, he discovered that penguins come from the South Pole. But how could he get there? He ran down the harbor and asked a big ship to take them to the South Pole, but his voice was much too small to be heard over the ship's horn. So if you look at this picture, there's a big ship, and then way down there is the penguin and the little boy. So that's why they can't hear him, because this ship is so big. Together, the boy decided he and the penguin would row to the South Pole. So the boy took his rowboat out and he tested it for size and strength. He told stories to the penguin to help pass the time. Then they packed everything that they would need and pushed the rowboat out to sea. So he's packing up his suitcase, his umbrella, and they're pushing that boat out. They rowed south for many days and many nights. There were lots of time for stories, and the penguin listened to every one, so the boy would always tell another. So he just keeps telling stories and stories as they're floating in their boat. They floated through good weather and bad. When the waves were as big as mountains. Look at that giant wave. Don't get him. Until finally they came to the South Pole. The boy was delighted, but the penguin said nothing. Suddenly it looked sad again as the boy helped him out of the boat. The sign says, "Welcome to the South Pole." So if he's feeling sad, why do you think that penguin's feeling sad if this is where he's from? Then the boy said, "Goodbye," and floated away. When he looked back, the penguin was still there, but he looked sadder than ever. So the boy took him back to where he was from, but now the penguin's feeling sad. Anybody have a guess why? Why would he feel sad now? The little boy said goodbye, and the penguin got sadder than ever. I think he misses the boy. It felt strange for the boy to be on his own. There was no point telling stories now because there was no one to listen except the wind and the waves. Instead, he just thought. And the more he thought, and the more he realized he made a big mistake. The penguin hadn't been lost. It had just been lonely. What makes you guys lonely? Maybe missing friends or grandparents or I don't know. Quickly he turned the boat around and he rowed back to the South Pole as fast as he could. At last he reached the pole again, but where was the penguin? The boy searched and searched, but he was nowhere to be found. You see what's happening? What do you see in that picture? This little boy's coming back. Who's over here leaving? So the penguin left, maybe to try to find the boy, and the boy was coming back. Sadly, the boy set off for home, so he couldn't find the penguin, so he thought he was going to leave again. But then the boy saw something in the water ahead of him. Closer and closer he got until he could see. What is it? The penguin! He found him. He gave him big hugs. And so the boy and his friend went home together, talking of wonderful things all the way. And underneath the boat, can you see these guys are whales? So they went home together, and then they were happy. So the penguin was lost, but the little boy found him, and so he was happy with the little boy. And so he had lots of feelings going on because he was happy maybe to be back to the South Pole, but he was sad because he missed the boy. And so he decided being with the boy meant more to him than being at the South Pole where he was from. So that's kind of cool. Okay, so for an activity, I have a couple of different things, but I want to show you. Let me put this up here. This is just a container, and you can use any container you want, of water. And so what I did is I went around my place and I found different things that I thought might sink or float. So I'm going to take this little toy octopus, and any guesses? Do you guys think it'll sink or float? Can you see? Sank to the bottom. And then I found this Lego. What do you think? Sink or float? Upside down, if you can see that, it's floating. What will happen if I push it down a little bit? Down in there. Nope, it still floats. So the Lego floats and the octopus sinks to the bottom. So they must weigh different. So they sink and they float. Or maybe what they're made out of makes the difference. This guy has air inside. He's hollow. So what do you think he will do? Float. He floated. And I have a couple more. What do you think this guy? He's made out of Legos too. So if the other Lego floated, do you think this one will float? He floated. It's kind of hard to see. Floating at the top there. Okay. This is a shaky egg. I don't know what's inside, but it's kind of heavy. A little bit heavier than the other things. Let's see what it does. Oh, you see that one? Definitely floating. So the only one that sank so far is this little toy octopus that I have. This guy, he's got a scuba diving outfit on, so I thought he could go in the water. He's pretty heavy too. So all of the things that didn't weigh very much are floating, and all of the things that were a little bit heavier, like that octopus, are sinking. It looks like that Lego's trying to sink now. Yeah, the Lego's sinking now. Okay, let's get this guy in here. Ooh, he floats! So even though he's heavy, he floats in there. Okay, so that is a game that you can play that we've played at school I call Sink or Float. So you can walk around your house, and if you're outside, you can get a bucket or something of water. Ask Mommy and Daddy to help you. Get a bucket of water, and you can play a game called Sink or Float. And you can pick up things like if you're outside, maybe a rock. What do you think a rock would do? We've done that at school. There's some rocks that are heavy and they sink. There's a rock called pumice that has air bubbles inside of it. And so when you put it in there, it'll float because of the air bubbles. So it could go either way. Another thing, because our book was at the South Pole, and at the South Pole it's cold, is I have ice. So I'm just going to put my ice in my bucket here with these toys that I gathered up. So if you ask Mom and Dad, they can help you find some ice. And is ice hot or cold? So the question, right? Ice is of course hot. Just kidding, it's cold. So ice is cold, so if you do this, you may want to do it outside if it's a nice hot day. And you can just put the ice cubes in your water, and if you dump out some of the water enough, you'll be able to stand your toys on top of the ice, and you could use different things. You could take the ice out, and you could set it, in the sun outside, and you could see how long it takes to melt. There's also a science experiment that you could do, and if you take salt, so ask mom and dad if you have extra salt, and you can put salt on it, and the salt actually makes the ice melt faster. So if you put the salt on there, your ice cubes, even if it's a hot day, they'll melt fast, right? But if it's a cold day, they'll go slow. If you add salt to them, it makes them melt faster. And it kind of gives it a funny texture. So right now, this ice cube is pretty smooth. But if you put salt on there, you'll notice the salt goes down into it and it makes it kind of bumpy. And so there's lots of different science things you can experiment with ice cubes, since there was ice in our book and it was cold. So Miss Katie is just trying to think of things you might already have at home so you don't have to go out and get anything. So ice is a really fun thing that you can play with if you ask mom and dad if it's okay. And then I'm playing in this for a little while and my fingers are already getting cold. So if your fingers get cold, remember you'll want to take them out. Otherwise they'll start to hurt and that's no fun. So yeah, that's some activities that you could do with that book called Lost and Found. You could also play a game of hide and seek if you have a brother or if mom and dad want to play with you. And you can play a game of hide and seek inside or outside. That's something you do to be lost, and think about how you feel when you're hiding and you're all by yourself. And then when the person finds you and how you feel when they find you. You may be frustrated because they found you, but you're not alone anymore. So that would be a happy thing. So those are ideas of activities you can do if you want to. So I hope you guys have a happy Tuesday or whatever day it is for you. And I miss you guys. Love you. Bye.